Daeho sat at the negotiation table in Trading Post 7, reviewing the cargo manifest on his datapad. The numbers didn't match. Someone had changed the shipping codes for his company's grain shipment. 3 million credits worth of food supplies had vanished from the tracking system. He looked across the polished metal table at Vrilth, the Corthaxian trademaster. The insect-like alien clicked his mandibles together, making a sound that Daeho's translator interpreted as laughter. "Is there a problem, human?" Vrilth asked, his voice dripping with contempt. "Yes," Daeho said calmly. "Our cargo shipment has been redirected. The codes were changed 6 hours ago. I believe this was done from your office." Vrilth's 4 eyes glinted with amusement. "Prove it." Daeho pulled up the security logs and turned his datapad around. The evidence was clear. Vrilth had accessed the shipping network and rerouted the human cargo to a Corthaxian holding facility 3 systems away. "I see," Daeho said quietly. "Then I would like to request the immediate return of our property. This appears to be a misunderstanding that we can resolve peacefully." Vrilth leaned back in his chair. Around the negotiation hall, representatives from dozens of alien species watched through transparent observation windows. This meeting was being broadcast across half the sector. The Corthaxian had made sure of it. "There is no misunderstanding, human. Your species is new here. You don't understand how things work in this sector. The Corthaxian Empire has controlled these trade routes for 300 years. We take what we want." Hana, standing behind Daeho, shifted her weight. As his security contractor, she had seen many difficult negotiations. But this was different. This was deliberate theft, done openly and with pride. "I understand your position," Daeho said, his voice still measured and calm. "However, the Galactic Commerce Union has clear rules about theft of registered cargo. I'm sure you're aware of these regulations. Please return our shipment and we can forget this incident happened." Vrilth clicked his mandibles again. He turned to his guards, 2 massive Corthaxian soldiers standing near the door. "Did you hear that? The human thinks he can threaten us with regulations." The guards made clicking sounds. Laughter. Daeho folded his hands on the table. "I'm not threatening anyone, Trademaster. I'm asking politely. Return the cargo within 6 hours. That's all." "Or what?" Vrilth stood up, his 6 legs carrying him around the table. "What will you do, human? Call your little trade federation? File a complaint? Your species has been in space for barely 20 years. Do you really think anyone fears you?" Hana watched the other aliens in the observation area. Something strange was happening. A Felisian merchant had stopped speaking mid-sentence. An Aquillan diplomat was rapidly typing on her communication device. Several species were gathering their belongings. 6 hours, Daeho repeated. "That's more than enough time to fix this mistake." Vrilth gestured to his guards. "Show these humans what we think of their demands." The 2 Corthaxian soldiers moved forward. One of them placed his clawed hand on Hana's shoulder and shoved her backward. She stumbled but caught herself, her hand instinctively moving toward her weapon. Daeho raised one hand slightly, signaling her to wait. He stood up slowly, adjusted his jacket, and looked directly at Vrilth. "Now I'm actually getting annoyed," he said. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. Every alien in the observation area froze. The Felisian merchant dropped her datapad. The Aquillan diplomat's tentacles went rigid. In the corner of the room, an elderly Peltharian trader stood up so quickly that his chair fell over. Quentha, the station administrator, burst into the room. Her tentacles were waving frantically. "Everyone remain calm. This is not a drill. All non-essential personnel should evacuate the station immediately." Vrilth looked around in confusion. What's happening?" Daeho picked up his datapad and put it in his pocket. "You have 6 hours to return our cargo, Trademaster. Starting now." He walked toward the door, Hana following close behind. As they left the negotiation hall, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Not emergency alarms, evacuation alarms. In the corridor outside, they saw something incredible. Every alien species was rushing toward the docking bays. Ships were powering up. Families were grabbing their children. Merchants were abandoning their merchandise. "What's going on?" Hana asked, watching a draconian warrior actually running toward his ship. "I'm not sure," Daeho admitted, "but we should get to the steady horizon." They made their way through the chaos to their docking bay. Captain Byung-soo was already there, standing at the airlock with a confused expression on his face. "Daeho, what did you do?" "Every non-human ship is leaving the station. I just got 17 emergency messages from alien traders I've worked with for years. They're all saying the same thing. Get away from Trading Post 7 immediately. I told the Corthaxians I was getting annoyed, Deho said. Byung-Su's eyes widened. You used the phrase? Already? He had his guards put hands on Hana. The captain nodded slowly. Then you had no choice. Come on, let's get inside. Earth Command will be sending ships soon. They boarded the steady horizon and went to the bridge. Through the viewports, they could see the unprecedented exodus. Nearly 40 alien vessels were undocking simultaneously, some of them cutting corners on safety procedures in their haste to leave. Within 20 minutes, Trading Post 7 was empty, except for 3 human ships and 5 Corthaxian vessels. Hana sat down at a console, still trying to understand. Why did they all leave? It's just a trade dispute. We haven't even done anything yet. Byung-Su pulled up some files on the main screen. Because they know what happens when humans say they're annoyed. Here, look at this. He showed her a historical record from 15 years ago. The Draconians, a warrior species that had never lost a battle, had demanded that a human colony ship surrender. The human captain had said she was getting annoyed. 40 minutes later, every Draconian warship was disabled and drifting. Not destroyed, disabled. The humans had taken apart their entire fleet without killing anyone, then left. And this, Byung-Su continued, showing another file. 11 years ago, the Zalarians tried to bankrupt human traders through economic warfare. For 3 years, we let them do it while we documented everything. Then we said we were annoyed. 6 months later, their entire trade consortium was legally dismantled. We used their own laws against them. And this is the big one, he said, his voice serious. 8 years ago, the Krethik swarm killed 300 human colonists, civilians, families. Admiral Hyun-woo sent them a message saying they had actually annoyed us. What followed was called the incident. We systematically destroyed 70% of their military over the course of 1 year. Not in anger, not in revenge. We just solved the problem. Hana stared at the records. We did all that? The galaxy learned something important, Byung-Su explained. Most species get angry and attack immediately. They make mistakes because they're emotional. Humans are different. We stay calm. We give chances. We try diplomacy first, second, and third. But when we finally say we're annoyed, it means we've stopped trying to be friends. We've started trying to solve a problem. And humans are very good at solving problems. Daeho's communication device beeped. He checked the message and showed it to the others. It was from Earth Fleet Command, sent to all human vessels in the sector. Situation acknowledged. Proceeding with standard protocol for annoyance level 1. Additional assets en route. Estimated arrival, 4 hours. On the bridge view screen, they could see the Corthaxian ships. Vrilth's vessel was still docked at the station. The trademaster clearly didn't understand the danger he was in. He thinks he won, Hana said quietly. He thinks our patience means we're weak, Daeho replied. He's about to learn otherwise. Far away on the edge of the system, a human patrol ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The righteous objection, commanded by Taiwan, began its approach to Trading Post 7. Commander Taiwan read the situation report and smiled grimly. Another species had confused human patience with human weakness. They always learned. The question was how much it would cost them. He opened a channel to his crew. All stations prepare for Annoyance Protocol Level 1. This is not a drill. We are authorized to escalate to Level 3 if necessary. Let's hope the Corthaxians are smarter than they appear. Back on Trading Post 7, Vrilth was celebrating with his officers. They had humiliated the humans in front of the entire sector. The cargo was already being sold to eager buyers. In a few hours, they would leave this station and the humans would be left with nothing but their pride. He didn't know that he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't know that 6 more human warships were already traveling toward Trading Post 7. He didn't know that. The galaxy had a saying about humans, whispered in fear and respect. Never annoy a species that learned patience by choosing it, not by needing it. The 6-hour deadline was counting down, and Daeho was no longer smiling. Vrilth sat in his private quarters aboard his ship, reviewing the transaction records. The human cargo had been sold to 3 different buyers for twice its original value, a profitable day's work. He clicked his mandibles together, satisfied. His communications officer entered the room, looking nervous. Trademaster, I have something you need to see. What is it? The database searches I ran. About humans. About what happened when they said that phrase. Sir, I think we made a mistake. Vrilth waved a claw dismissively. The humans are bluffing. They have no military presence in this sector. We have 40 warships. They have 3 cargo vessels. 7 warships now, sir. A human patrol ship just arrived. And there are 6 more on the way. So, 7 ships against 40? The mathematics favor us. The communications officer placed a data pad on the desk. Please, Trademaster. Read these reports. They're from the Galactic Historical Archive. Incidents involving humans over the past 15 years. Vrilth picked up the pad, annoyed. He began reading. His mandibles stopped clicking. The first report was about the Draconians. 15 years ago, they had been the most feared military power in 3 sectors, warriors who had never lost a battle. They had encountered a human colony ship and demanded surrender. The human captain had tried diplomacy. She had explained the situation calmly. She had offered peaceful solutions. The Draconians, seeing her calm behavior as weakness, had prepared to attack. Then she had said, "I'm starting to get annoyed." 40 minutes later, every Draconian warship was disabled. The humans had used some kind of advanced electronic warfare system that the Draconians had never seen before. Not a single shot was fired, not a single Draconian died, but their entire fleet was helpless, drifting in space. The humans had taken detailed scans of every Draconian ship, documenting their weapons and defenses. Then they had simply left. The Draconians, proud warriors, had immediately started researching Earth's military history. What they found had changed their entire culture. They discovered that humans had fought wars for thousands of years. Humans had developed weapons that could destroy cities, countries, entire continents. Humans had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, and then humans had chosen to stop. Not because they couldn't fight, not because they were weak, but because they had learned that endless war benefited no one. The Draconian war chief had sent a message to his entire species. Never fight the humans. They know more about warfare than we will ever learn, and they choose peace anyway. That makes them more dangerous than any warrior race. Vrilth moved to the second report, the Zalarian Trade War. The Zalarians were masters of economic warfare. They had decided to test the humans by bankrupting their trade colonies. For 3 years, they used market manipulation, predatory pricing, and illegal trade practices. The humans complained. They filed formal protests. They requested mediation. The Zalarians ignored all of it, thinking the humans were too passive to fight back. Then an elderly human economic advisor named Young Su had appeared at the Zalarian High Council. He had presented them with a complete documentation of every illegal action they had taken over 3 years. He had asked them politely to stop. They had laughed at him. Young Su had said, "Now you're making me annoyed." 6 months later, the Zalarian Consortium no longer existed. Young Su had filed over 300 legal actions across 20 different galactic courts. Each action was perfectly researched and documented. The Zalarians tried to fight back but discovered that the humans had learned every single rule of galactic commerce law. The Zalarians had been using illegal tactics for so long that they had forgotten what legal actually meant. The humans dismantled their monopolies one by one. Using nothing but paperwork and patience, the case was now taught in every business school in the galaxy as an example of why you should never underestimate someone just because they're being polite. Vrilth's claws trembled slightly as he opened the third report, the incident. 8 years ago, the Krethic swarm had decided to test human resolve. They were a hive-minded species, controlled by a queen who believed in strength through aggression. They had raided a human farming colony. 300 humans had died, farmers, teachers, children, families. The Krethic queen had expected the humans to respond with emotion. She had prepared for angry demands, threats, maybe even a small military response. She was ready to negotiate after showing her strength. Instead, Admiral Hyunwoo had sent a single message. "You have actually annoyed us now." What followed became known throughout the galaxy as the incident. The human fleet had arrived within 2 weeks. They didn't make speeches. They didn't send ultimatums. They simply started working. Over the course of 1 year, they systematically destroyed 70% of the Krethic military infrastructure. They didn't attack civilian targets. They didn't rush. They methodically identified every military installation, every weapons factory, every training facility, and they removed them. The reports described it as unnervingly efficient. Human ships would arrive, destroy their targets with precision strikes, and leave. No wasted effort, no unnecessary casualties, just cold, calculated problem-solving. The Krethic Queen had sued for peace after 9 months. The humans had accepted, set strict terms, and gone back to farming. But the galaxy had learned something terrifying. Humans didn't fight with emotion. They fought with efficiency, and a species that could wage war with the same calm patience they used for farming was not a species to provoke. Vrilth looked up at his communications officer. "Are these reports accurate?" "Yes, Trademaster. I verified them with 3 independent sources. There's more. The human annoyance protocols have 7 levels. Level 1 is a warning. Level 2 is a demonstration of capability. Level 3 is limited military action. And Level 7, total strategic removal. They dismantle your entire military capability and place your species under supervised administration until you learn to coexist peacefully." The Krethic incident was classified as Level 4. Vrilth felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. How much time until the human deadline expires? 3 hours and 42 minutes, sir. Contact the human ship. I want to speak with their negotiator. I've been trying, sir. The Korthaxian High Command has blocked all communication channels. They believe you're being threatened by the humans and they're sending our fleet to rescue you. Rescue me? Vrilth stood up quickly. We don't need rescue. We need to return that cargo immediately. The High Command won't listen, sir. War Master Krelvor is leading the fleet personally. He says the Korthaxian Empire doesn't surrender to newcomer species. Vrilth grabbed the communications officer by the shoulders. Listen to me carefully. Get a message to the human negotiator. Any way you can. Tell him we're trying to return the cargo. Tell him our High Command has taken over. Tell him we want peace. I'll try, sir. Vrilth watched through his viewport as the empty space around Trading Post 7 began to fill with ships. Human ships. The righteous objection had been joined by 2 more warships, and according to sensors, 4 more were approaching. He accessed the station's security feeds and saw the human negotiator, Dae-ho, calmly sitting in a conference room with his colleague. They weren't panicking. They weren't even looking concerned. They were drinking tea and reviewing reports on a data pad. That calm behavior terrified Vrilth more than any warcry could have. He thought about War Master Krelvor, proud and stubborn, leading 40 Korthaxian warships toward Trading Post 7. The War Master believed in strength and honor. He would see the human presence as an insult to be answered with. Vrilth accessed the historical records again and searched for any species that had escalated military force against humans after being warned. The results made his blood run cold. Every single one had been defeated. Not destroyed, defeated. The humans always gave them chances to surrender. But once the fighting started, the humans never stopped until the problem was completely solved. A new message appeared on his screen. It was from Earth Fleet Command, broadcast on all frequencies. Situation acknowledged. Proceeding with standard protocol for annoyance level 1. Additional assets en route. Korthaxian High Command is advised that escalation will be met with proportional response. We strongly recommend diplomatic resolution. The message was polite, professional, calm, and absolutely terrifying. Vrilth tried again to contact his High Command. He needed to make them understand. The humans weren't bluffing. They weren't posturing. They were giving the Korthaxians one last chance to avoid a disaster. But the High Command was too proud to listen. They saw this as an opportunity to prove Korthaxian dominance over the upstart human species. 3 hours until deadline, 40 Korthaxian warships approaching, 7 human ships waiting, and 1 terrified trademaster who realized he had started something. That could end with his entire species learning a very painful lesson about the danger of mistaking patience for weakness. On the human ship, Dae-ho finished his tea and checked his watch. 3 hours, he said to Hana. I really hope they return the cargo. And if they don't? Hana asked. Then we proceed to level 2, and I really don't want to do that. It's so much paperwork. His calm tone made Hana smile despite the tension. That was the thing about humans that other species never understood. They didn't get excited about conflict. They treated it like any other job that needed doing, and they always finished the job. War Master Krelvor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 40 Korthaxian warships, the pride of the Empire, moved in perfect formation toward Trading Post 7. The humans had 7 small vessels. The outcome was obvious. "Status report," he commanded. His tactical officer responded immediately. "We will arrive at Trading Post 7 in 45 minutes, War Master. The human ships are maintaining position around the station. No aggressive movements detected." "Because they know they're outmatched," Krelvor said. "This will be a simple rescue operation. We retrieve Trademaster Vrilth, teach these humans some respect, and return home victorious." His second officer looked uncertain. "War Master, I've received several messages from Trademaster Vrilth. He's requesting that we stand down. He says the situation can be resolved diplomatically. Vrilth has been intimidated by human threats. We will show him that the Korthaxian Empire fears no one, sir. I've also received warning messages from the Draconians, the Zilarians, and even the Krethic Swarm. They're all advising us to avoid military conflict with humans." Krelvor clicked his mandibles in disgust. Those species were weak. We are not. The Draconians exaggerate their defeats to save honor. The Zilarians were corrupt and deserved their fall. And the Krethic were always unstable. We will not be intimidated by stories. At Trading Post 7, Ambassador Kyung-suk had just arrived on a fast diplomatic shuttle. She was an elegant woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She went directly to the conference room where Daeho and Hana were waiting. "Report," she said, sitting down smoothly. "The Korthaxians stole our cargo. I gave them 6 hours to return it. That was 4 hours ago. Their military fleet is now approaching, apparently believing this is a hostage situation." Kyung-suk closed her eyes briefly. "Did you use the phrase?" "Yes, Vrilth had his guards physically assault Hana." The ambassador looked at Hana. "Are you injured?" "No, ma'am. Just pushed." Then Daeho's response was appropriate. Kyung-suk pulled out her datapad and began typing. "I'll try to reach the Korthaxian High Command. We have 2 hours to prevent this from escalating to Level 2. She explained the situation to Hana, who was still learning about deep space diplomacy. "Humans are very patient," Kyung-suk said. "We give other species many chances because we understand that mistakes happen. Communication can fail. Cultures misunderstand each other. We know this because we had thousands of different cultures on Earth and we had to learn to work together. But this patience is a choice, not a weakness. When we say we're annoyed, we're informing the other species that we've decided their behavior is no longer acceptable. We're giving them one last chance to fix the problem themselves." Hana nodded slowly. "And if they don't, then we fix the problem for them. Not with anger, not with emotion. We just solve the problem in the most efficient way possible." An hour later, Kyung-suk made contact with War Master Krelvor. His face appeared on the screen, his mandibles clicking aggressively. "Ambassador, I suggest your ships leave the area immediately. This is now a Korthaxian security zone." Kyung-suk smiled politely. "War Master, there's been a misunderstanding. We're not threatening anyone. We simply want our stolen cargo returned. If you return it now, we can all forget this incident happened. I'm even willing to reduce the penalty fee to 50,000 credits." Krelvor leaned closer to the screen. "You're in no position to demand anything, human. You have 7 ships. I have 40. Basic mathematics." "War Master," Kyung-suk said, her voice still pleasant. "I strongly urge you to reconsider. You are very close to triggering annoyance level 2. Please don't make this worse than it needs to be." "Is that a threat?" "No, it's a warning." "There's a difference." Krelvor terminated the communication. He turned to his officers. "Prepare weapons. When we arrive, we will disable the human ships and take control of the station. Minimal casualties. We'll show these newcomers how real military powers operate." On the righteous objection, Commander Tae-wan received updated orders from Earth Fleet Command. He read them carefully, then looked at his tactical officer. "Prepare the Level 2 package. Electronic warfare suite, full deployment. Sir, the Korthaxian fleet will be in range in 20 minutes. I know. We'll wait until they cross the boundary I'm about to establish. Then we'll demonstrate why escalating against humans is a bad idea." Tae-wan sent a message to all Korthaxian vessels. "This is Commander Tae-wan of the human patrol ship Righteous Objection. I am establishing a defensive perimeter around Trading Post 7. Any vessel crossing this boundary will be considered hostile. This is your final warning." Krelvor received the message and laughed. One human ship is establishing a perimeter against my entire fleet? The arrogance is astounding. Ignore the warning. Proceed as planned. The Corthaxian fleet crossed the boundary. Taewon nodded to his weapons officer. Deploy the probe. A small device, no larger than a personal shuttle, launched from the righteous objection. It moved into position between the human and Corthaxian fleets. To Krelvor's sensors, it looked like a simple reconnaissance drone. Sir, the human ship has deployed some kind of probe, his tactical officer reported. Probably trying to scan us. Ignore it. The probe activated. For exactly 3.7 seconds, it transmitted a carefully designed electronic warfare signal. The signal exploited 3 specific vulnerabilities in Corthaxian military computer systems. Vulnerabilities that human intelligence had discovered months ago during routine observation of Corthaxian military exercises. On every Corthaxian warship, the weapons systems shut down. Targeting computers displayed error messages. Fire control systems became unresponsive. Krelvor stared at his displays in disbelief. What happened? Report. War Master, all weapons are offline. The targeting systems have been disabled. All of them? Yes, sir. Every ship in the fleet. The human probe sent some kind of signal that crashed our military computers. Can we fix it? We're trying, sir, but the shutdown protocols are complex. It will take hours to restore functionality, maybe days. 40 Corthaxian warships, the pride of their empire, now drifted helplessly in space. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply turned off. Taewon opened a communication channel to the Corthaxian flagship. His face appeared on Krelvor's screen, calm and professional. War Master, what you just experienced was annoyance level 2, a demonstration of capability. We disabled your weapon systems in less than 4 seconds. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the same amount of time, but we chose not to. Krelvor said nothing. His mandibles had stopped clicking. You now have 30 minutes to arrange for the return of the stolen cargo. If you comply, we will help you restore your systems and we can all go home. If you do not comply, we will proceed to level 3. Please don't make us use level 3. The communication ended. On the Corthaxian flagship, chaos erupted. Officers shouted at each other. Engineers worked frantically to restore systems. And War Master Krelvor finally understood that he had made a terrible mistake. Vrilth received emergency command codes from 3 of the High Admirals. They were overriding Krelvor's authority and giving Vrilth permission to negotiate directly with the humans. He opened a channel to Daeho immediately. Human negotiator? This is Trade Master Vrilth. I am transmitting the location of your cargo right now. I apologize for this incident. I am prepared to pay 10 times the penalty your ambassador requested. Please do not escalate to level 3. Daeho's face appeared on the screen, still calm. Your military situation is not my concern, Trademaster. You have 3 minutes to send the cargo coordinates. Vrilth's claws moved frantically across his controls. Within seconds, he transmitted the complete location data for the human cargo. Done! The coordinates are sent! Received. We'll dispatch recovery teams immediately. And level 3? If your fleet makes no further aggressive moves, level 3 will not be necessary. Vrilth felt relief flood through him. Then he remembered Krelvor. On the flagship bridge, Krelvor sat in his command chair, staring at the disabled weapons displays. His entire career had been built on military strength. He had won battles across 3 sectors, and now, in less than 4 seconds, a single human ship had rendered his entire fleet helpless. War Master, his second officer said quietly, we should accept the human terms. The cargo is being returned. We can restore our systems and retreat with minimal loss of honor. But Krelvor's pride had been wounded too deeply. In his mind, accepting defeat from humans would destroy not just his reputation but the reputation of the entire Corthaxian military. No, he said. Ready, the Corvette docked at Bay 7. It's an older model. It doesn't use the network systems that the humans compromised. We can still fight. Sir, that's insane. 1 Corvette against 7 human warships? I'm not going to fight 7 warships. I'm going to ram the human negotiator's ship. Without their spokesman, they'll lose coordination. We'll have time to restore our systems and counterattack. War Master, you'll be killing civilians. That will trigger I don't care what it triggers. I will not surrender to humans. Krelvor took a small group of loyal officers and went to Bay 7. The Corvette there was an old Melita. 3 weeks had passed since what everyone now called the Trading Post 7 incident. The station had returned to normal operations, but everything had changed. Deho sat at his usual table in the negotiation hall, reviewing a contract for grain shipments. Across from him sat a Peltharian merchant named Pelthar. The alien was nervous, his hands shaking slightly as he presented the contract terms. "These terms look good," Deho said, reading through the document. "The delivery schedule is reasonable and the pricing is fair." Pelthar jumped slightly at the word fair. He quickly pulled out another data pad. "Actually, honored human, I have revised terms here. Better prices for you. Faster delivery. More favorable payment schedule." Deho looked up confused. "Why? The original terms were already good. I want to make sure everything is perfect. No problems. No delays, no annoyance." Deho set down his datapad and spoke gently. "Trademaster Pelthar, you seem very stressed. Is something wrong?" The Peltharian's translator couldn't quite capture the fear in his voice. "Honored human, I simply wish to conduct good business. I heard what happened with the Korthaxians. I don't want any misunderstandings. The Korthaxians stole from us," Deho explained patiently. "They were given many chances to return what they took, and they refused. They even tried to attack us. That's very different from normal business negotiations. But what if I make a mistake? What if there's a delay in shipping? What if, Then we'll talk about it," Deho interrupted softly. "Like adults. Like business partners. Mistakes happen. Ships break down. Weather affects crops. These things don't annoy us. What annoys us is when someone deliberately tries to cheat us or hurt us, and then refuses to fix the problem when we ask politely." Pelthar seemed to relax slightly. "So small problems are acceptable?" "Of course. We're all trying to make a living out here. Sometimes things go wrong. That's life," Deho smiled. "Let's use the original contract terms. They were fair to both of us." After Pelthar left, looking much calmer, Hana joined Deho at the table with 2 cups of coffee. "That's the 5th merchant this week who was terrified to negotiate with you," she said. "I know. It's becoming a problem." A woman approached their table. She was human, in her 40s, with an academic look. "Excuse me, are you trade negotiator Deho?" "Yes, and you are?" "Dr. Myung-hee. I'm a sociologist from Earth. I've been sent to study how the galaxy perceives humanity after recent events." "May I sit?" "Please." Myung-hee sat down and pulled out a recording device. "I've been interviewing various species over the past 2 weeks. The results are fascinating and somewhat concerning. The galaxy now sees humans as what they're calling sleeping giants." "What does that mean?" Hana asked. "It means they think we're peaceful and patient most of the time, but incredibly dangerous when provoked." Which is accurate, of course. But some species are now too afraid to do normal business with us. They're worried that any small mistake will trigger a military response. Deho sighed. "That's not what we want at all, I know. But think about it from their perspective. 3 weeks ago, a single human ship disabled an entire fleet of 40 warships in less than 4 seconds, and you did it without destroying anything or killing anyone. That level of precision and power is terrifying. We gave them multiple warnings," Hana said. "Yes, and that's actually what scares people most. You didn't respond with emotion. You didn't get angry or make threats. You just calmly explained what would happen, and then you did exactly what you said you would do. That cold efficiency is more frightening than rage." Myung-hee showed them some of her interview data. One Felisian merchant had said, "Humans are the only species I know who can destroy you while remaining polite." A Draconian warrior had commented, "We fight with honor and passion. Humans fight like they're solving a math problem. I respect them greatly and never want to face them in battle." Even a Zalarian economist had admitted, "The humans dismantled our entire trade empire using nothing but our own laws. They understood our system better than we did." How do you defend against someone who defeats you with patience and paperwork? On the other side of the galaxy in the Korthaxian Empire's capital, Trademaster Vrilth stood before the High Council. He had been promoted to High Admiral specifically because he had saved his species from disaster. "The new human interaction protocols are now in effect across all our territories," he reported. "Every Korthaxian officer has been trained in these guidelines." The head counselor nodded. "Summarize the key points for the record." Vrilth pulled up a display. "First, always assume human patience has limits even if those limits aren't visible. Second, never confuse human politeness with weakness. Third, never escalate against humans unless facing an existential threat. Fourth, If a human uses words like annoyed or irritated, immediately seek to resolve the problem. And what of War Master Krelvor? He has been stripped of rank and exiled to Colony 7. He serves as a reminder of what happens when pride overcomes wisdom. The counselor clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The humans could have destroyed our fleet. They could have killed thousands of our people. Instead, they disabled our weapons and gave us chance after chance to surrender. Why? Because, Vrilth said, humans actually mean it when they say they prefer peace. They're not weak. They're not afraid. They simply understand that war is expensive and diplomacy is cheaper. They'll always try the cheap option first, but when diplomacy fails, then they use the expensive option, and they're very good at it. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Sungmin was giving a lecture to new diplomatic and military officers. A young lieutenant named Bora raised her hand. Sir, I don't understand something. At Trading Post 7, we could have disabled the Korthaxian fleet without any warning. We could have solved the problem in 4 seconds instead of giving them hours to comply. Why didn't we? Sungmin smiled. Good question, Lieutenant. Let me explain with a story from Earth's history. There was a time when we had weapons that could destroy entire cities. We used them twice. They ended a war, but they created problems that lasted for generations. We learned something important. Using maximum force immediately might solve the immediate problem, but it creates future problems. He pulled up a display showing the 7 annoyance protocol levels. These protocols force us to give other species multiple chances to choose peace. Level 1 is just a clear statement that there's a problem. Level 2 is a demonstration that we have the ability to solve the problem by force if necessary. Most conflicts end by Level 2 because intelligent species realize that continuing is stupid. But what about species that don't realize it? Bora asked. Then we escalate through the remaining levels. Each level is designed to give them one more chance to surrender before things get worse. By the time we reach Level 7, they've had so many opportunities to stop that no one in the galaxy can say we didn't try every peaceful option. So the protocols are about politics? About how other species see us? Partly. But they're also about protecting ourselves. Earth spent thousands of years fighting itself. We know what endless conflict looks like. We know how cycles of revenge work. The protocols help us avoid those cycles by making sure every action we take is measured and proportional. Another officer spoke up. But sir, doesn't this mean aggressive species can test us? Can push us and see how far they can go before we respond? Yes, and some will try. But here's the thing, once we respond completely. We don't do half measures. We don't leave threats partially dealt with. When we say a problem is solved, it stays solved. The Krethic Swarm learned this. The Zalarian Consortium learned this. And now the Korthaxians learned this. Eventually everyone learns. Back at Trading Post 7, Vrilth had requested a private meeting with Deho. They sat in a quiet conference room without guards or witnesses. Vrilth performed a formal Korthaxian apology ritual that took 10 minutes. Deho accepted it gracefully. I must ask you something, Vrilth said. Would you really have gone to Level 7? Would you have dismantled our entire empire over stolen cargo? Deho thought for a moment before answering. The cargo stopped being important after the first hour. What mattered was the principle. If we let one species attack us without consequences, others would try. We'd face more and more provocations until a real war became inevitable. So you would have destroyed us to prevent future conflicts? Not destroyed, dismantled, there's a difference. We would have removed your ability to threaten others for a generation. We would have placed your empire under supervision until you learned to coexist peacefully. We would have rebuilt your infrastructure afterward, but your age of expansion through aggression would have been over. Vrilth clicked his mandibles slowly. That's somehow more frightening than simple destruction. Because it's permanent, Deho explained. Destroying something creates martyrs and desires for revenge. Dismantling something and rebuilding it better removes the foundation that allowed the problem to exist in the first place. Your species thinks very long-term. We have to. Earth's history taught us that short-term solutions often create long-term problems. So now we try to solve problems in ways that stay solved. Vrilth stood to leave, then paused. May I ask one more question? What's the real reason your species is so patient? Deho smiled slightly. Because we know what we're capable of. On Earth, we fought wars for thousands of years. We developed weapons that could end all life on 6 months after the Trading Post 7 incident. The galaxy had changed in unexpected ways. The station itself had been renamed Unity Point and now served as the main hub for human-alien diplomatic relations. Ships from hundreds of species came and went daily, and the station was more prosperous than ever. But that morning, something happened that reminded everyone why the Corthaxians had fled so quickly 6 months ago. Brilth was in his office on a Corthaxian trade vessel when his communications officer rushed in. Looking panicked, "Hi, Admiral, we have a situation. The Varathians have seized 3 human science vessels." Brilth stood up so quickly he knocked over his chair. "What? When?" 30 minutes ago. The Varathians are a new species that just joined the galactic community. They claim the human ships entered their territory without permission. Have the humans responded? Yes, sir. Admiral Sungmin just sent a message to the Varathian Empire. The officer played the recording. Admiral Sungmin's face appeared on screen, calm and professional. The Varathian Empire has detained 3 of our vessels without cause. We request immediate release. If our ships are not returned within 12 hours, we will become annoyed. Vrilth felt his blood run cold. Get me a communication channel to Varathian High Command, immediately. Sir? They don't know what they've done. Someone needs to warn them before it's too late. Within an hour, Vrilth had sent emergency messages to the Varathians. So had the Draconians, the Felisians, the Aquilans, and dozens of other species, all saying the same thing. Return the human ships immediately. The Varathian Prime General, a military leader named Carvex, read all the messages with growing confusion. His species was strong and proud. They had never backed down from anyone. Why was everyone so concerned about 3 small science vessels? Then Carvex did something smart. He actually read the historical records that Vrilth had sent him. The Draconians, the Zalarians, the Krethic Swarm, the Corthaxians. He read them all. Then he called an emergency meeting of his military council. "We are returning the human ships," he announced. His officers protested immediately. "But Prime General, this makes us look weak." "No," Carvex said firmly. "It makes us look smart. I've read the historical records. Every species that ignored human warnings regretted it. The humans are offering us a simple choice: respect their patience or learn the hard way why you shouldn't push them. Surely our military can. Our military is powerful," Carvex interrupted. "But the humans disabled 40 Corthaxian warships in less than 4 seconds. Without destroying a single one? That's not just power. That's precision. That's control. That's the mark of a species that knows exactly what it's capable of." 8 hours after the initial message, the 3 human science vessels were released. The Varathian government issued an apology, claiming the seizure was a misunderstanding due to unclear border markers. Everyone knew it was a face-saving excuse. The humans accepted it anyway. Deho, who had been brought in as part of the negotiating team, worked with Carvex to establish clear boundary protocols. The negotiations were professional and efficient. At no point did any human indicate annoyance. When a young Varathian officer asked Carvex later why they surrendered so quickly, the Prime General's answer became famous throughout the sector. "The humans are offering us a deal. Respect their patience and they'll be the best neighbors in the galaxy. Disrespect it and they'll be the worst nightmare." This is not a difficult choice. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kyung-suk had started something called the Understanding Humanity program. It was a series of lectures and cultural exchanges designed to help other species understand human psychology. Dr. Jae-sung, a human psychologist, gave the main lecture at Unity Point. Over 200 alien species attended. "Let me tell you about human evolution," Jae-sung began. "For millions of years, we were prey. We were hunted by larger, stronger, faster animals. Then we learned to make tools and became hunters ourselves. Then we became so advanced that we were both predator and prey, often at the same time." He showed images from Earth's history. Ancient humans running from predators. Humans hunting with primitive weapons. Humans building cities and fighting each other. This created a unique psychology. We're programmed for extreme cooperation and extreme violence. We can work together in huge groups to achieve incredible things, but we can also fight with deadly efficiency when necessary. And crucially, we learn to control which aspect we show. A Felisian in the audience raised a tentacle. But many species have this capability. What makes humans different? Separation of emotion and action, Jae-sung explained. Most species feel emotion and act on it immediately. Anger leads to attack. Fear leads to retreat. Joy leads to celebration. But humans evolved to separate these things. A human can be furious and still act calm, can be terrified and still move forward, can be kind while being deadly. He showed a video from the Trading Post 7 incident, Daeho speaking calmly while saying he was annoyed. The evacuation that followed. The Korthaxian fleet being disabled while Taewan's voice remained professional and courteous. When a human says, "I'm annoyed," they're not expressing emotion. They're giving you information. They're telling you that their analytical mind has decided that patience is no longer the best strategy, and a human mind focused on problem solving, without emotional interference, is the most dangerous thing in the known galaxy. The lecture was recorded and became required viewing for any species engaging in diplomatic or trade relations with humanity. Hana had spent the past 6 months working security at various stations. She had become somewhat famous as the human at the center of the Trading Post 7 incident. One day, a young Korthaxian officer approached her nervously during a break at a trade conference. "Excuse me, security contractor Hana?" "Yes." "I wanted to apologize for my species' actions 6 months ago. What War Master Krelvor did was wrong." Hana smiled gently. "Thank you. Apology accepted." The Korthaxian hesitated, then asked, "Were you frightened when you realized you might have caused a war?" Hana thought about it. "I was startled when they pushed me." "But frightened of war?" "No, I was in the military before this job. I knew that if it came to conflict, we would handle it. What I was actually worried about was you." "Us? Your enemies?" "You weren't our enemies. You were making a mistake. There's a difference. Enemies want to destroy you. Mistakes can be fixed. We always prefer fixing mistakes." This conversation was overheard by several other aliens. The story spread quickly. It became another piece of the puzzle that helped other species understand human psychology. Humans genuinely didn't want conflicts. The Korthaxian Empire itself had changed dramatically. 6 months after their humiliation, they were experiencing a golden age. Under Vrilth's leadership, they had shifted from aggressive expansion to cooperative trade. A Korthaxian cultural delegation visited Earth for the first time. They toured cities, museums, and historical sites. What surprised them most were Earth's war museums. In one museum about ancient human conflicts, a Korthaxian scholar studied the exhibits carefully. "You don't glorify your warriors," he observed. "You show the reality of war, the death, the suffering, the waste." Their human guide, a historian named Minseo, nodded. "We remember what we were. We honor the people who fought because they had to, but we never forget that war is a failure. A failure of diplomacy, of understanding, of patience. Every person who died in these wars died because someone, somewhere, failed to find a peaceful solution." The Korthaxian was quiet for a moment. "We always taught our young that war was glorious, that conquest brought honor." "And where did that teaching lead you?" Minseo asked gently. "To Trading Post 7, to almost losing everything because our pride was more important than our survival." The Korthaxian delegation returned home and began changing how they taught history. War wasn't glorious. It was necessary sometimes, but never something to celebrate. Meanwhile, galactic trade was booming. With clear protocols for human interaction established, and with humanity's reputation confirmed, trade partnerships with humans became highly valuable. Daeho, now promoted to senior trade coordinator, found himself negotiating deals that would have been impossible before. Species that had been hesitant to work with the newcomer humans were now eager to establish long-term partnerships. A Zalarian merchant explained it to her colleagues. "Humans are predictable. They won't cheat you. They won't suddenly attack. But they also won't tolerate being cheated or attacked. That predictability is valuable." Another alien trader added, "Working with humans is safe. You know exactly what you're getting. Fair deals, honest communication, and protection from aggressive species who might try to steal from you." Dr. Myung-hee completed her 6-month study and published her findings. Human Integration in Galactic Society. The Psychology of Measured Response. Her main conclusions were clear. Humanity had established itself as a stabilizing force in the galaxy. The annoyance protocols, rather than being threats, were now seen as helpful warnings. Human reputation had evolved from mysterious newcomers to reliable partners, but she also included warnings. Humans must maintain perfect discipline. Any unjustified use of force